On July 4, 2025, the very same day the world celebrates independence, it loses something far greater, the enduring illusion of cosmic solitude. Across the globe, radio telescopes are intently tracking a familiar intruder, a name that hasn't been uttered in years. The Pan-STARRS Observatory spots an object moving rapidly between the stars, but this time, the standard follow-up measurements of position and speed reveal something completely different. Yet, it carries the profound weight of an unsolved mystery, Oumuamua. This is not the drifting, silent object that slipped past us in 2017. This time, it is on a controlled trajectory. Every minute adjustment in its path is precise, deliberate. Then, one voice transforms the moment into a global conversation. But to truly make sense of this alien return, its origin must first be understood. Flashback to the first encounter, October 19, 2017. On the slopes of Haleakala in Hawaii, the Pan-STARRS telescope catches sight of something unusual, a faint streak against the black void. By the time astronomers fully realize what they have found, it is already on its way out of the solar system. This object is unlike anything ever recorded. It is not bound by the sun's gravity, not looping back for another orbit. It is simply passing through and leaving, becoming the first confirmed interstellar visitor in human history. Its name, chosen in Hawaii where it was discovered, is Oumuamua, messenger from afar, arriving first. Initially, it is classified as a comet, but a problem emerges. There is no glowing coma, no dust tail, nothing that visually marks it as such. It is reclassified as an asteroid, only to be given a brand new category altogether, I, for interstellar. Measurements suggest an object between 100 and 1,000 meters long. Its brightness pulses rhythmically every few hours as it tumbles through space, hinting at an extremely elongated, cigar-like shape, or perhaps a flattened pancake. It reflects 10 times more light than a typical comet, making its surface appear unusually bright and metallic. Its path is hyperbolic, a clean, mathematical escape from the sun's gravitational grip. At its closest approach on September 9th, it blazed past our star at a breathtaking 87 kilometers per second. But the real shock comes as it departs. Instead of slowing under the sun's pull, Oumuamua accelerates, just slightly but enough to defy every known law of natural motion for a celestial object. There is no visible gas jet, no detectable dust, nothing that would explain the mysterious push. Infrared scans find nothing either. The data is severely limited. The window to observe it closes within weeks, and what little we learn does not match anything in our entire catalog of known space objects. Astronomers are left with a profound puzzle, one that natural explanations strain to solve, and that some will soon claim might have no natural explanation at all. But the intense debate over what Oumuamua really was would prove to be only the very beginning. Theories and debate rage after 2017. With Oumuamua now vanishing into the dark, the only things left are the data and the heated arguments over what it meant. Some scientists lean decisively toward natural explanations. One prominent theory suggests it could be a fragment of nitrogen ice, blasted from the surface of a Pluto-like world in a distant star system. Such a fragment, shaped and smoothed over millions of years in interstellar space, could theoretically account for its unusual brightness and acceleration without leaving a visible trail. Another proposal describes it as a hydrogen iceberg, a body made almost entirely of frozen molecular hydrogen, releasing invisible gas as it warmed near the sun. This hydrogen would escape without producing any detectable dust or a visible tail, making the outgassing effectively invisible to our instruments. A third possibility labels it a dark comet, a body without the glowing coma or tail we traditionally associate with comets. In this view, hydrogen trapped deep inside ice crystals could have been released after long exposure to cosmic radiation, producing a thrust too subtle for traditional comet science to explain. But there is another theory, one that refuses to sit quietly on the sidelines. Harvard astronomer Avi Loeb argues that Oumuamua might not be a rock at all, but technology. His idea, a light sail, a wafer-thin craft no more than a millimeter thick, propelled by the gentle push of sunlight across the vastness of interstellar space. The suggestion splits the scientific community. Loeb publishes detailed arguments, pointing to the object's extreme shape, its unusual non-gravitational acceleration, and its complete lack of typical cometary signatures. In response, researchers like Darryl Seligman from Cornell counter with their own complex analyses, vigorously defending natural explanations and challenging Loeb's assumptions. The result is an open, public back and forth, alien technology versus exotic natural physics. Yet, for all the compelling theories, none can fully and satisfactorily explain the object's strange mix of properties. Too shiny for a typical comet, too fast for a simple asteroid, accelerating without any visible fuel. Every model solves one part of the puzzle, but none solves it completely. And so, Oumuamua departs toward the constellation Pegasus, carrying a secret no one on Earth could crack. But the mystery was far from over, because 8 years later, it would return and bring an answer no one saw coming. The return changes everything. 8 years after it vanished into interstellar space, the unthinkable happens. On July 4, 2025, Oumuamua is spotted again, a faint but unmistakable object against the black, its trajectory cutting back toward the inner solar system. Astronomers immediately recognize its signature motion and peculiar brightness profile from 2017. But this time, something is profoundly different. Tracking stations begin feeding in new positional data. At first, the readings seem like mere noise, small deviations from the predicted path. But as more observations flood in from observatories across the globe, a clear pattern emerges. The object is not just coasting along its orbital curve, it is making deliberate, calculated changes to its course. The corrections are precise, timed, and controlled, adjustments so exact that they cannot be explained by outgassing, gravitational nudges, or any other known natural process. Each maneuver requires enormous energy, the kind of sustained, directed thrust and control that no drifting comet or asteroid could ever produce. For the scientific community, the shift in thinking is immediate and seismic. A theory that had once been labeled fringe, the possibility that Oumuamua was of artificial origin, now stands supported by direct, undeniable observational evidence. Papers that had been dismissed or heavily criticized in 2017 are suddenly back in circulation. Even astronomers who had firmly argued against the idea find themselves urgently re-evaluating their old positions in light of this new data. The return becomes a global story overnight. Major news outlets replay archival footage and graphics from its first encounter, documentaries are re-aired, interviews with researchers resurface. The unanswered mysteries of 2017 are retold for audiences who now see them in an entirely new, electrifying light. Social media platforms ignite with theories, intricate analysis threads, and amateur tracking updates, while live streams follow its approach in real time. Governments quietly instruct their space agencies to maintain constant observation. The private sector joins in, with commercial satellites and deep space tracking networks turning their powerful instruments toward the incoming object. Every hour brings new updates, and every update feeds into a mounting wave of global anticipation. And then, the biggest twist of all arrives. Because as Oumuamua approaches, it does something no one was prepared for. The signal represents first contact. The initial detection is faint, a narrow band of repeating pulses hidden within the static of deep space. At first, the signal blends into the background noise, buried in the constant hum of cosmic radiation that every deep space receiver collects. But once the initial recordings are run through sophisticated filters, a pattern begins to emerge. Observatories on multiple continents independently confirm the same thing. It is not random noise. The pulses repeat in a way that follows a deliberate, complex structure. Sequences of prime numbers, mathematical progressions based on geometric ratios, and precise references to universal physical constants that are the same everywhere in the universe. These are the unmistakable hallmarks of a crafted message, the kind of signal scientists have long theorized would be used to announce intelligent origin. As the frantic decoding work begins, something remarkable happens. The message seems to unfold in intricate layers, each part containing clear instructions for unlocking the next. Built into its very fabric is a logical framework for understanding its own language, step by step, as if the sender anticipated the challenge and prepared a guide. This isn't just a distant transmission saying, "We are here." It is a carefully constructed pedagogical sequence showing exactly how to listen. For the first time in human history, humanity holds recorded, verifiable evidence of intelligent life beyond Earth. Every dataset is independently checked and rechecked across the globe, leaving no room for doubt. The decades-old debate over if has ended. What remains is the far more urgent question: what? Is this a greeting, a warning, an invitation, or something else entirely? In response, the entire global scientific community shifts into unprecedented action. Research alliances form almost overnight. Cryptographers, linguists, mathematicians, and AI engineers begin round-the-clock work sessions, sharing progress in real time. Data flows freely between institutions that only weeks before had been fierce rivals. The focus is singular. Crack the message before Oumuamua moves beyond range. And as the race to understand begins, one unlikely place becomes the campfire where millions gather to process what's happening. The Joe Rogan Experience becomes that global campfire. In a studio in Austin, Texas, the red, on-air light glows. Joe Rogan leans into his microphone with a half-smile and a shake of his head. His voice carries the same mix of raw curiosity and sheer disbelief that much of the planet is feeling. It's back, folks. The weird space cigar is back. The sentence needs no context for anyone listening. Oumuamua's return has dominated global headlines, television panels, and online feeds for days. By now, its name is etched into the public consciousness. Every person tuning in already knows the basics, but they crave more. Across from Rogan sits Avi Loeb, the Harvard astronomer whose 2017 claim that Oumuamua could be alien technology once drew intense skepticism, criticism, and even ridicule. Now, with the object's recent controlled maneuvers and the structured signal confirmed by independent observatories worldwide, Loeb is no longer a controversial voice on the margins. He is the central figure in the biggest scientific story of all time. The conversation between them is direct and grounded firmly in the new evidence. They revisit the events of 2017, dissect the minute details of the new trajectory data, and explain clearly why no natural object could possibly behave in this way. Loeb walks through the physics, the complex calculations, and his light sail hypothesis that once made headlines for all the wrong reasons but is now receiving serious, credible attention. Rogan steers the interview into territory few traditional media outlets would touch so openly. Are we about to get a phone call from ET? Who decides if we respond? Are governments telling us everything they know? The discussion flows fluidly between technical science, unanswered questions, and the larger, profound implications for all of humanity. Loeb remains precise and analytical. Rogan brings the questions and doubts on everyone's mind. Together, they create a unique space where complexity doesn't get lost in translation and where wild speculation is avoided in favor of what can be confirmed. 4 hours, millions of listeners stay connected, in living rooms, during long drives, or late at night with headphones on. The broadcast is both personal and global, intimate and vast. It's more than an interview. It feels like a collective moment of processing, a place where uncertainty is acknowledged and curiosity is shared. As Rogan signs off, the questions hanging in the air are the same ones circling every dinner table and news desk on Earth. What does the message truly mean? And what happens when we finally understand it? The global reaction is a planet in conversation. The signal from Oumuamua doesn't just spark a scientific race, it sparks a deep cultural and philosophical reckoning. In churches, mosques, temples, and meeting halls, religious leaders speak to crowds and congregations about what this moment could mean for faith. Some frame it as a reaffirmation of a divine creation, arguing that life elsewhere fits perfectly into a divine plan stretching far beyond Earth. Others struggle openly with the theological implications, questioning long-held interpretations of humanity's unique role and purpose. Across university lecture halls and popular podcasts, philosophers urgently revisit questions that have shaped human thought for centuries. If intelligent life exists beyond Earth, how should we understand our own place in the universe? Are we still unique, or just one voice among many? The discussions are no longer about abstract ideas. They're tied to a concrete, world-altering event, a real signal recorded and confirmed. In studios and galleries, artists respond with incredible speed and intensity. Songs, paintings, and digital art attempt to capture the staggering scale of the moment, while filmmakers begin crafting narratives that blur the old line between science fiction and reality. The alien encounter is no longer an imagined what if, but a present-tense reality. Social media becomes an unfiltered stream of wonder, humor, fear, and hope. Memes circulate alongside live updates from major observatories. Every new decoded fragment of the message becomes breaking global news within minutes. For many, the divisions that have defined nations and politics seem suddenly smaller. The sight of an object from another star sending us a deliberate message forces a kind of cosmic perspective rarely shared by billions of people at once. Oumuamua becomes a mirror, reflecting both our profound fragility and our shared existence on a single, small world. But while the world reacts in thought and expression, another, more pragmatic response is taking shape. One that doesn't involve words or philosophy, but data, precision, and the relentless pursuit of understanding.